My wife, 33F, punched me, 34M, in the face in front of the kids. I, 34M, have been with my wife, 33F, for 8 years. We have 2 kids together, ages 6 and 5. My wife has gotten physical with me a few times. It's not an occasional thing. But she has punched me or slapped me. I've never hit her back. I have shoved her when she was hitting me. This doesn't occur often, but has happened. The other day we were arguing about something and it got pretty heated. I left the room to calm down and walked into the living room and she followed me in. I raised my voice at her and she punched me in the side of my head. My 2 children were sitting on the couch a few feet away during this experience. My youngest doesn't seem to really acknowledge what happened, but my oldest later that night gave the side of my head a kiss and asked me why mommy hurt me, and wanted to play doctor to fix it up, even though there's no physical mark. I love my wife, but in front of my children is my final straw. I brought this up to my wife and told her I was highly considering divorce. And she began bawling and promising it wouldn't happen again and even offered for us to go to marriage counseling. My oldest is stuck to my hip and keeping their distance from my wife. My wife would never hurt our children, but I hate to see my child fearful. I grew up in a violent household and wanted better for my children. I'm not sure if I should believe my wife and agree to marriage counseling. I love her so much, but I can't keep living like this. Advice? I am so sorry to hear this. This is not your fault, and you don't deserve it. You say your wife would never hurt your children, but she already is. Your children are witnessing their mom physically abuse their dad. That takes a heavy emotional toll. No child is ever too young to be affected by domestic violence. I would urge you not to attend marriage counseling with her. That may seem counterintuitive, but marriage counseling is actually typically contraindicated for abusive relationships. This is because many marriage therapists are not trained in the dynamics of domestic violence and therefore may not properly screen for abuse or support the abused partner's safety. The abusive partner may also attempt to manipulate the therapist into siding with them, and may even take their violence out on the partner after sessions in anger about how the session went. I'm a mod at our abusive relationships, and a while ago I posted a PSA against couples counseling. Many abuse survivors in the sub shared their negative experiences with couples counseling with an abusive partner and why it was so dangerous for them. Please feel free to join us over at our abusive relationships. There are several other men in our community. Here is a list of domestic violence resources for male survivors. If there is a domestic violence agency in your area, you might try contacting them and seeing if they can help you with safety planning and things like legal advocacy, housing, and financial assistance. Regardless, putting together a safety plan would be a good idea, no matter what you choose to do next. It's a harm reduction method for individuals in abusive relationships. An advocate may be able to help you connect to family counseling for you and your children. I would also recommend making sure to document everything: injuries, dates, times, details. This is important for legal advocacy. Unfortunately, domestic violence almost always escalates. I am afraid this is going to get worse than it already is. Again, I am so sorry. Please prioritize your safety and your children's safety. Watching your mom hit your dad is hurtful to kids. Is trauma. It's also teaching them what to accept in a relationship when they grow up. Do you want them thinking it's okay for their partner to hit them? Or to hit their partner? Is this the example of love you want to give them? I grew up in a violent household and wanted better for my children. You know what you need to do. Now all you need to do is act. Or continue to perpetuate the cycle of violence. It is up to you. What would you advocate your daughter do if her future boyfriend punched her in the face? There's your answer. Abuse is abuse. I will give you the same advice I'd give anyone in this situation. Leave. Take the kids and go. File for divorce. It's not fair, but honestly, punching you even once is a big hell no. Hell no. Doing it in front of the kids is just the bow on top. Domestic violence is a slippery slope. If you aren't around, the next target might be the kids. You can't let this go. Oh yes, she will hit and hurt the children, just wait a few years. It will happen. I grew up watching my stepmother assault my father in the same way you are describing. She would also sob, beg forgiveness and swear to never ever do it again. Even after I became her victim as well. She would do this every time for 10 years. I saw it, heard it and lived it. Grew up in fear, not knowing safety in my own home. 40+ years later, I have PTSD and no contact with my father's family for over 12 years. It affects every thought I have about myself and everyone else. For the sake of your children, don't make them mourn for the person that they should have been. Get out now. Get her into therapy, and once a qualified professional can attest that she is no longer a danger. Do not work on the relationship. Violence changes children's brain chemistry. Literally who the air. Be safe but be firm. Talk to a lawyer! Exclamation mark. You are being abused! Exclamation mark. Don't think that your kids will not be abused! Exclamation mark. Don't you want your kids to grow up thinking it's okay for people in relationships to hit each other? Police report. Lawyer. Do not stay. She will correct her behavior for a short time before reverting back. If she is violent towards you, she will be towards your kids. You might not be able to protect them, but do everything you can. This is not healthy thing, nor is it mentally stable. Don't repeat the cycle you grew up in. Your kids deserve a better life than what the future holds in your current relationship. You need to start planning for a way out, while trying to minimize what your children see, hear, and experience going forward. I'm sorry this has happened to you. I wish you and your children the best good luck. How would you feel if your daughter was married to a man who was doing what your wife was doing to you? I'm sure if you were a female, the responses would tell you to call the police and leave right away. My wife would never hurt our children. You don't know that. She obviously can't control herself. What will happen when you are not around and one of the kids is misbehaving? Get her to an anger management program, as this is not normal behavior. Press charges and have her removed from the home. Once she is out, then tell her she will not be welcome back until she gets individual therapy and completes an anger management course, not marriage counseling. This is on her. And do not take her back based only on her own protestations of horror and swearing to do better. That is textbook abuser rhetoric. My wife would never hurt our children. Did you think she'd ever hurt you? If your answer is, no, I didn't think she'd ever hurt me, you might want to reevaluate what you wrote. Focus on what's healthiest for the children. They're learning that marriage and relationships aren't safe. And this is how adults behave. Even if your wife isn't violent to them yet, they'll be fearing it. Seriously consider reporting it and separating. Reporting is important because you'll want to consider going for custody to keep them safe. It only gets worse. My ex slammed my head into a toilet seat once because my migraine vomiting was bothering him. He later said he was sorry. It would never happen again and we would go to counseling. It didn't happen again. What happened next was way worse. When I look back on that, the two things I'm thankful for are that he didn't kill me, as he had escalated far beyond normal thought, And that we didn't have children. You need to leave and get your kids out too. The reaction your oldest is having to witnessing this is heartbreaking. Their safety and mental health is important as is yours. DV is a slippery slope. The abuser always says, never again, but they move on to worse things and say, well, I said I wouldn't do that thing again and I haven't. You're making a big deal out of nothing and trying to make me feel bad. If your kids witness abuse, they grow up thinking it's normal. Do you want your kids to become abused or abusers? I love her so much. But I can't keep living like this. If you were a woman, every reply to this post would be to GTFO of this abusive relationship. I see no reason for the advice to be any different in this situation. Not sure why you love someone who hits you in front of your children. She clearly has zero respect for you and your family. You mention you grew up in an abusive household. By putting up with this, you're going to continue that cycle with the kids.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Haircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.